You're listening to Rodney Rogers Outdoors Radio, where we turn it upside down and look at the outside from the inside out. It's safe, it's legal, and we're having a blast. So put your shoes on, my friend, because we're going outdoors.
There we are. Thank you for calling. Thank you for calling. Thank you for listening to Rodney Rogers Outdoors. I'm Rodney Rogers, partner coach he's in crime, the man Mike Coy himself, the real deal.
Manopause.
Manopause. Hey, I like that.
I've been in a funk, Rodney.
Have you really?
Yeah, I've been in a
It's
funk.
just a funk.
Yeah, something.
We haven't got you outdoors. That's what it is.
Yeah,
We
I
were
think it
actually
is.
supposed to shoot some stuff this weekend, and this whole fishing thing got in the way. That we'll
Get in that.
we'll be talking about.
Yeah, it's just been weird, but yeah, I'm gonna blame it on you probably
Okay.
mostly.
Yeah, definitely
If you
blame
don't
it on
mind,
me.
you
Yeah.
got broad shoulders.
Dude,
You can
shoulder
carry
guy.
me.
Shoulder guy.
Haven't been outside. Something. Yeah, just been in a funk, but
Well, right on, man. Well, we're gonna get you out of that funk tonight.
nothing will cure that better than an hour with Rodney Rogers.
Or Mike Coy. That's the best time. The hour with Mike Coy that I enjoy.
This is our hour. How you been?
Dude, I've been awesome. As you can see, I've been super busy. I've had some pretty cool weekends. The weather's been awesome. You know, and that's, man, I love being outside when the weather's awesome. Actually, I love being outside when the weather's not so awesome.
Well, who cares what the news is because you've been making your own, right?
I have been making my own news, man. I've been running and gunning, so to speak. It's, as you can see, I have been super busy. You know what? It's
Just back it up a little bit and see what's been going on here on the
yeah,
Rodney Rogers Outdoors.
it's just been so crazy. You know,
Facebook.
it's that time of year where everything is here, and I want to do everything. You know, does that make any sense?
Yep.
Or I just want to do it all. When
Yep.
you got hunting seasons, you got everything is in season right now. Even some stuff that I'm learning about off this video, off this Hunt Florida I follow. They're FWC guys. Tony Young is actually the guy who runs that Hunt Florida, and he does the videos. Have you ever seen me repost videos on
I
the
have,
seasons?
yes.
Well, this is the guy.
Really?
Yeah, this is Tony Young. I actually met Tony. Hopefully, we'll be talking to him shortly. But I met Tony by calling on that coyote that I had. I thought it was a wolf, not a werewolf. I was going to say werewolf.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I sent him the video, and he looked at it. And I've heard of Florida wolves being in Florida years and years and years and years and years. Get your lights on. Is that?
Oh, thank you, Rodney.
Wow. And
Thanks for noticing.
yeah, your lights on, son. So you know, I heard it. Nah, just anyway, I sent it to him. Like, hey, is your wolf? Is your wolf?
Is that a wolf?
He says, no, it's not a wolf. Dummy, quit sending me them stupid questions.
So he actually works for
The FWC,
FWC.
my favorite place.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, he has, and I repost all the videos because this is a lot of questions that we get, and you and I answer on the show sometimes. I mean, this is, you know, what we call straight from the whose mouth?
The Rodneys?
No, you know when you say straight from somebody's mouth, dude. The
horse's mouth.
That's the horse's mouth.
Yeah, I guess that's a somebody. If you're
I was thinking parakeet. Where was I? Straight from the lion's mouth. Straight from
Tony Young.
Tony Young. Yeah, you'll see him. You'll see that I post a lot of his. I repost all of his videos, and there's a reason. It's super, super good information. Absolutely love the information he puts out because you bet it's correct because he works for them.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, go straight to the source.
I mean, that's the source right there. You can't get any better than that. So, hopefully we'll be talking to him. We're going to be talking a lot about what I did this weekend, a lot about what's going on right now, as far as everything that's out there. You know, we're talking fishing, hunting, and we're just going to be. I don't know, man. We're just going to talk about that. Now, tonight's show. I posted on our website. I always call this a website. What is that thing called?
Facebook, web.
Yeah, I
It's that
posted on
online
Facebook
thing.
that tonight's show is about sharing secrets. And I put on there, secrets will set you free. And this is the whole reason you and I started this show. And I told you from the beginning.
What is it about secrets?
Well, people want to know, man. They just want to know.
Remember that commercial? He said, if you want to get somebody's attention, whisper. Like, hey. My wife does it all the time. She's whispering. I'm like, you know what? There's nothing gets people's attention more than you whispering.
The best part is when two people are on the phone and they're like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you whispering? I'm by myself. You know, that kind of thing.
Whisper. There's nothing usually good with whispers.
Oh, no. That's somebody's, you know, I like when you're
hiding.
What we ought to do is just go into a mall and do, and then look at somebody. See what kind of trouble we can get into.
So secrets.
So tonight we're going to be talking about telling secrets. And by secrets, I mean, you know, you've seen what I've been doing. My favorite fishing holes.
You've been posting them.
Yeah, my favorite hunting spots. I've been posting those secrets. Because what I noticed, and I know you and I started this from the beginning, and our whole philosophy of this whole, what we're doing is just to teach people. If someone is successful in something they do, it doesn't matter if they draw their first picture and it looks like what they wanted to draw, or
sure,
it can be that simple. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that success of that makes you want to do it more. So by us posting, hey, we caught this snook, or we caught this redfish, or whatever we caught, that is awesome. I could say we caught this in Mosquito Lagoon. Well, there's 21,000 acres in Mosquito Lagoon.
Yeah, it's not like, hey, go here. There's 6 of these left.
Right, exactly. It's like get them while they're hot, you know.
Then it makes sense. You might not want to tell everybody.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Outdoors doesn't work that way.
No, it replenishes. You know, they may be here today, and if you catch it within the next couple of days, you have a good chance of being successful on that spot, because there again, everything depends on weather, temperature, and time. You know,
that's why I like those several apps, probably a ton of apps on for your smartphone, that people are posting where they caught this fish, and so you can go be at any given location and just look. Wow, somebody just caught this photograph off the bridge yesterday. I mean,
right.
But that's great. I think that's the community that I think really fuels the fire,
and that's where it comes from. You know,
absolutely.
Some guy just bought a fishing pole and he has no idea where to start, but he just has that, or she even has that desire. You know, a lot of times I'm getting a lot of, you know, questions from mothers wanting to take their sons and daughters fishing, you know, that the father's not necessarily in their life, and they're going, I don't even know where to start, you know, and that apps like that, or even, and I always point them to our Facebook, because I give it away. I tell you what we're doing. I tell you how we're doing it. You see the pictures. We're successful. It's not like we're just saying it and not doing it. You know,
I think that's kind of the heart of where at least you and I started is just breaking it down and simple. Go out back, start fishing. The passion of you know, just getting outdoors and
absolutely, you
know, not making it so difficult, just having fun with it.
You know what I think pushed me in that direction? Of course, you know, I talk about my uncle all the time, who I learned how to fish from, fish and hunt and everything in the outdoors. You know, there was times he left us home, and it was not fun at all being left home when you wanted to go. And there was times when I wasn't successful. I mean, I didn't kill my first deer till I was 16, you know, but I hunted since I was 13, you know, and it just made that success that much sweeter. But we didn't have the information that we have today. It was all trial and error. It was just, there wasn't a lot of social media. I mean, you had to read a magazine. I mean, you'd get the magazine on last year's strategy.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, it's a year old, or at least the best info you could get was a month old, you know, last month's strategy. And you couldn't get deer strategies from last month if it wasn't deer season last month. You could only get the preseason strategies. And by the time the magazine came out, it was too late. It's already season.
That's a pretty curious notation there. You know, just how technologies have changed.
Exactly.
Being able to disseminate information, you know, at the speed of instantaneously.
Like right now.
You know.
And now with the new GoPro Hero 4.
Yeah, you can broadcast live.
We can, you know, and obviously, you know, there's tons of apps where we can do it. But you're live.
Yeah.
You're seeing it as
you can post something and people get instant notifications, you know, wherever they're at, if they're at the computer or on their phone. And You can get information out there real quick if there's
like now.
Yeah, storms coming or something closed down. But like you say, you used to have to subscribe to the magazine, and once a month you'd get it if you're, if that's your
best case scenario.
Exactly.
A month later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually you could actually see our post, see where we're at, and literally get in your car, go drive close to where we're at. If you have a canoe, if you see, and literally fish right behind us.
See what I would love, because I love the community aspect of it. I love meeting new people. I love going new places, and just fight. And it's like trying somebody else's recipe of their favorite cake. You know what I mean? Let's just go. But I would love for, starting initially, driving distance, hopefully, but somebody over in Port Canaveral or down south or wherever says, hey, here, I'll come down, I'll take you my favorite fishing spot, and I'll go behind the camera and you and him fish, and we just make a day of it. I would love that. I think that's
if you're listening and you have that. Now I will tell you this, we talk about secrets. I will tell you this. I will not, if someone takes me to their secret spot, I will not give that secret away on our website. I'm going to get that out of the way.
Unless they say it's all right.
Exactly. And that was where I was going with that. And unless they say, Rodney, I don't mind, if you give this spot away.
We can shoot video and it'll be generic.
Absolutely. I know I've got a couple spots that I fish that people have told me about, tarpon spot from a good friend of mine. And as bad as I want to say, hey guys, catch your first tarpon here. It's pretty awesome. I really can't do that because it is his spot. There's days when he goes there just to relax.
Fair enough. Yeah, and that's very respectful.
Yeah, and I'd hate for 5 people to be piled up in there. And him go, yeah, we heard this old Rogers Outdoors,
Like I say, the chances of, at any given time, somebody showing up because they heard it somewhere else, the time it's just
exactly. And that's what I tell everybody.
Like lightning striking twice, Yeah. It could happen, but it's
absolutely. Because I know, in the fishing world, when you're talking offshore or deep bottom fishing, you got, the people, the fishermen hold their numbers, their GPS locations. Like literally, there was a story several months ago where a lady got mad at her husband, took his numbers off his GPS and sold them. And guess how much she sold them for? $25,000. He had like 300 numbers, secret, top secret grouper, and and all these snapper and all these locations. Some guy bought it for $25,000. So there's value in this information.
Well, and I don't know if there's to make a separation between somebody who's just got a passion for going outdoors and fishing to somebody who it's their livelihood, and their livelihood is based on everyday charter fishing, taking a group of people out and having them have to catch fish in order for them to be successful.
And you get paid.
So I can see those guys getting.
And they do, man. They really do. I mean, a lot of guys, if you're fishing on their charter boat and you pull out your phone, they're like, hey, what are you doing there? They want to make sure you're not marking the spot that they're in.
Interesting.
Especially if you're on the inshore. And if you're out offshore, and a lot of times your phone.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
Doesn't log in.
Well, since you're talking secrets, obviously we've highlighted maybe the obvious one of your fishing hole, your favorite fishing hole, but what other kind of secrets, do fishermen have?
Well, there's some what happens on the water stays on the water.
Because there would be techniques.
Absolutely. You know what? And
and probably not what you were talking about tonight, but that secret thing goes on.
Actually, it goes right in that line, techniques. Here's what happened. And here's when I do the demos at Bass Pro Shop, I often tell the fishermen that are in the audience, I said, one of the biggest problems we have as fishermen is holding our secrets. Now, that's not a problem to us because we have our secrets.
Right.
Their lips are sealed, throw away the lock and key, the whole key thing. I have learned over the years that by telling secrets, like a lot of people, you have a favorite lure. I had several favorite lures that I used all my life, and they just disappeared because they were so good. They were such a well-kept secret. No one bragged about them, talked about them, nor used them. So, therefore, they didn't sell them. Well, they didn't sell them. They had to quit making them and try something new. So, a lot of good lures that were on the market.
It's kind of the epitome of, what is it, biting off your chewing off your face or
hand to
tongue.
feed your biting your nose to spite your face kind of
That's
deal.
the one.
That's the one. See, you're with me.
Yeah, so let's not chew off our faces.
Chew off our
I've been
faces.
watching too much Walking Dead or something.
So I know my uncle Jerry. He told me of about a worm that he used. My gosh, it had to be back in the 50s. It's called a gully whopper. And he said it's just a great worm, a purple worm, blah blah blah. It was like a great gully whopper. He probably forgot the name. He's in the 70s now. He probably don't remember. It was probably called culprit, which is here today. But you have those nostalgic baits that you used as a kid. But he remembers this big, and he talks about it all the time. This gully whopper, and it's long gone. And back then, fishing secret was that. I mean, if you told your secret, you got drug out the back and got beat with a 2x4. Probably not that bad, but I mean, it was pretty serious to give away a secret fishing spot. So, I mean, people paid for those.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Just friend to friend. It was trading. They would trade secrets. They were, it was that kind of thing. So it was pretty serious stuff, and it still is today. Not quite as much so. It is secret, like when you see Addicted Fishing, Blair Wiggins, and you see, Bill Dance, and you see all these Shaw Grigsby fishing their spots and they're catching fish. You will not see them give away a location, nor even flash the camera at their GPS in any kind of way. It's just taboo. They just won't do it. For one is, most of the time they are fishing with a guide, and the guide is in his secret spot.
Yeah, I guess it's like Christmas and Santa Claus. Spoiler alert if anybody's kids are listening.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of that. I'm trying to say that you got to respect that point of somebody's.
Exactly.
I mean, we're all like, "Hey, give it away," but the flip side is, it's
like you said earlier,
it's kind of the nostalgia that goes along with some of this as well. So,
absolutely,
I got to give it to those. Wow.
I mean, the fact is if we had 30,000 followers,
my mouth just froze up.
I saw that. Like, I saw you locking up. I saw the eyes going into this twitch, and I said,
"Yeah, but it's like it's like the secret of Santa Claus, and it's got to go along with the spirit of Christmas."
Exactly. I see what you're saying. Okay,
the secret of some of the secrets of fishing, it's got to go along with that nostalgia and the spirit of being a fisherman.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
That's part of it.
Yeah, and it's just,
and you can't take that away from people.
No, exactly right.
You can't go, you're a moron for not sharing your fishing spot. That's not it at all.
No, that's not it at all. I mean, if you have a following of 40,000 people and you want them to be successful, what that show is, yes, it's teaching you technique. But what I noticed they don't teach you is, why are we fishing in this condition? And most of the time they're fishing flats on an ocean side, not in a lagoon side. The lagoon doesn't have a tide fluctuation. So the water that's here today will be the same water that's here tomorrow. So a secret spot in somewhere like a lake or a lagoon would be a well-kept secret, versus the flats out on the Gulf that 12 hours from now will be absolutely dry. There'll be no water here.
Well, see, wouldn't that be somebody telling part of their secret and go, but I'm not giving him the golden key.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I'll give you some, a magician will show you
right
up to a certain extent, just enough to leave you wondering. And then,
and that's my point out there. And in the same way with, if you fish a hole out 30 miles offshore, you completely fish it out. Next thing you know, the hole is dry. You come back tomorrow, that hole will be filled back up with other fish.
Yeah.
If you're pulling grouper off of this, there'll be more grouper there tomorrow. And it's the same way with the flats. If you're fishing the flats on the east or west coast and you're up in there fishing the flats, and 12 hours from now,
you're not going to fish it dry and then there's none tomorrow.
Because this time tomorrow, there's not going to be water up there. Those fish have to come and go.
Yeah. The only thing I can see where, again, even with commercial fishermen, if you're taking your group of 4 or 6 guys out on a Saturday morning or any given day to that fishing hole, you don't want 20 other boats to be there when you get there.
Absolutely
that
right.
day. You know what I mean? So that's where I could see it maybe being
right.
You
know what? It's kind of how do I put it? Let's picture this in my flats boat. If I'm in a new area and I see this guy, and he's got 2 guys on a boat, and they're fishing, and I see one guy running around the boat doing all the work. I know that's a guide. I see him. I know he's there for a reason. I get on my GPS. I move it over 1 click. I mark that spot. I know that's a guide, and I know that's a fishing spot. So it's not like it's totally secret. He's just not going to tell anybody where it's at, but I can see him fishing there. So
sure.
And that's how most people get their spots.
Well, and I've been deep sea fishing, consistently for the last 10 years now, at least once a year. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I've
been
enough to see some
in the know.
Some routines go on. And there's been, multiple times where you're fishing next to 2 or 3 other commercial fishing boats. So like you say, they know the spots, and there's a certain respect. It's not like they're going, "Hey, get out of my fishing hole."
Exactly.
They're given some leeway, keeping the boats a respectable distance apart, so you're not pulling off each other's school of fish.
Right.
But
it's an etiquette that every fisherman knows.
I guess there's a difference. Maybe that line is, a professional fisherman who, like I say, is making his livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to protect yourself and play the game a little differently,
right,
from you or I who just love fishing and want to go out and catch fish. Because in that place, it becomes a place of community where you want to share. You'd just rather spend the day hanging out with somebody fishing, pulling in 1 or 2, because that's what it's about for you.
Right, exactly right.
Maybe. There are probably people that totally disagree with that statement, but
100 people. Some people. Here's how I put fishermen in groups. I put fishermen in the actual, what I would call a fisherman group, meaning a fishing ambassador. And that's where not to put myself in that group, but I have
true. That's where
I have a few friends that I would call a fishing ambassador. My buddy Brian, he can get on a boat and he has just as much enjoyment, and I do, watching someone catch that fish as he would. Literally, he sees that as, man, look what I did. Look what we caught. It's a we thing. Then you have the fisherman that I call the greedy fisherman, that I'm going to fish in front of you, around you. I know a guy like that. If you're fishing on the bank, he's ahead of you to try to get your fish. And when you're catching fish behind him, he's behind you trying, he's just in your groove there. So, there's those fishermen out there, and then there's fishermen that try to steal your knowledge without sharing it or giving the wealth, that really don't know how to fish. They won't ask to learn. And it's those guys that think they know everything. Think they know
sure.
How'd I do
cleverly that? Call it the fisherman who thinks he knows everything.
Knows everything.
I suppose it's an interesting conversation, because I suppose if you put several of each of these different types of categories of fishermen, we all can picture them in our mind. Like I said, I've been out with some salty dog, very rough captains. Have been some that are much more like you, where they just want to make sure that you're having a good time and that this day is successful for you, and you go with the memories, rather than feeling the pressure. Your pressure is more than if you're not getting fish in the boat from me, you're getting angry at me, making my day miserable.
Exactly.
But I suppose if you took a handful of each of these types of people, put them in a room, and fed them pizza, they would attack the pizza with the same personalities as the way they guard their.
Yeah, absolutely. They're that way all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, all the time.
That's who these people are.
That's who those people are. And then you have the ambassadors.
There's not much there in the fisherman world. There's probably not a lot of pretender, right?
It's a very matter of fact. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
There's no in between there. I just noticed I put the wrong phone number up there.
Oh no!
I got it now, pal.
That's why my phone's not ringing.
Phone's not ringing because you're not called. So, that's kind of what it's, and that's what telling secrets. How important it is to tell. Now, there's a few holes that I will tell secrets to a select few. You have those people that let's just say I told you about it. You're a hardcore fisherman. You're a hardcore fishing ambassador.
I'm hardcore, period, Rodney.
You are hardcore, man.
Yeah. You can look at me and go, that dude's hardcore.
That dude's hardcore.
I hear that 20 times a day.
I figured that out about you.
Usually me looking in the mirror going, you're hardcore.
You're hardcore.
No, no, you're hardcore.
Seriously, you're hardcore.
Take my word for it.
So you're trying to convince yourself?
So we're talking fishing holes,
So,
or
yeah, let's say
locations
I've got a
specifically.
few spots that I absolutely wouldn't give to the mass. One is like where I have this giant bass that you see that I posted, and it will set you free kind of thing.
No, here, yeah.
This spot I would only tell a select few, because it's not a very big spot. There are a lot of giant fish in this lake, and it would, bass fishermen would be a little more inclined to fill this lake up versus, and
Okay, so you're saying you're reluctant
yeah,
to give away that lake right there.
if it was in a different location,
And you're telling me that's not photoshopped.
that's not Photoshop right there, dude. Chris is not Photoshop. And if this lake was in a different location, a more accessible location, I would absolutely say yes. Here's this location. Here's the technique.
Is it close to your house?
It's about 15 miles away.
So proximity is close. If this was in the other side of the country, you'd give it away a little more freely.
Yeah, if this was in Guatemala, Japan.
Well, because when you're talking access and who you're giving these secrets away, access is a key point.
It's a key point.
Not just location,
yeah.
but I mean, let's face it, you can give about any secret away to me. The chances of me going out this weekend, because I don't own a boat,
right?
My availability is limited to that kind of stuff. But if you're talking, if somebody's just a bass fisherman and it's a deep sea, giving away the GPS location that's 20 miles offshore, not much threat there.
Right, exactly.
So depending on your audience, who you're talking to with these
you hit it
secrets,
right on the head. You hit it right on the head. And this particular lake, you couldn't fish from shore. You would have to have a kayak or a canoe of some sort. You couldn't get a boat in there. It's basically, it's like half residential, and you can't access through.
Is it in Orlando? Is it north of Orlando? South of Orlando?
It's actually very south tip of Orlando, north tip of Kissimmee.
Okay.
So it's kind of where they meet.
Close to Disney?
It's close to Disney.
Okay.
Trying to
East side or west side by 4?
Guatemala.
Guatemala.
So, I mean, if it had a little more access, the problem is if you put a lot of people in here, here's the things that I look for. One is when I look at fishing spots that I fish in, as well as I do, how much trash is there? How much are people willing to take care of this area? So I would give this position away to someone I knew that would be an ambassador as and be willing to leave nothing but their
really good point.
Their tracks.
Really good point.
I mean, it's
yeah. You don't want to come in there tomorrow and just find this guy's leftovers,
worm buckets and all their worms, their worm packs thrown on the ground. Yeah, represent as
really
if
good point.
This was your front yard. And that's why I'd be reluctant to give this
front yard. Is that a clue?
Front yard is dirty. Mine is. So that's kind of where I base my locations on. When you're talking oceans or something like that, I mean, the one place we fished this past weekend where we caught the snook, Nick caught snook. I'll pull that up. And we fished there.
Now you posted 2 locations. Did you post 1 or 2 locations? You posted 2 locations.
I posted 2 locations. One is from last week, and one is from this past weekend.
Now let me ask you: you obviously pinned this on your phone,
yes,
and sent that. Is that pin where? Is that generally where you were at,
no.
Or did you actually take that where you were at?
I took that where we were at.
Okay.
Oh, where do we go here? I actually took that. I dropped that pin right where there's an island there.
I see that. Yeah, I can see that.
You'll see me holding a trout. That's where I caught that trout.
I can see you in the photo holding that trout.
Yeah.
From that satellite photo. I see it.
Yeah. And that I'm going, yeah, that's me right there. Holding a trout.
Well, it's so funny because so often you won't catch that stuff and you'll listen to the episode later and you're like,
I laugh every time I go, I didn't know he said that. You know what's fun? My mind is so focused on what I want to say. I'm like,
just distracting you.
And I'm like, I'm getting this out. I don't care what he says about me. So, I mean, this is actually right where we were. And you can see on the north side of that, you'll see a road, and that's a state park.
Okay.
You know what I mean? They rent kayaks there. They rent canoes there. And I didn't even put that in my facts.
So just north of that, is that the parking?
That's the parking.
Okay.
You rent a kayak, you paddle right out here. So even if you
they rent them there.
Oh gosh, yes. We rented life vests because 2 of ours flew out of the truck.
That's fantastic.
For $5 each, we rented 2 life vests, so we were legal on the water, had whistles.
Good man.
So I mean, Plan. All that's flats in there. I mean, you can see this area here where I'm kind of moving this little hand here. We fished all up in here. We caught, this is where we caught the snook, is right along here.
Well, you guys, I mean, you caught some really sharp looking fish this weekend.
We were able to fillet some. You know, we couldn't
did
keep,
ya?
we couldn't keep our snook because we got a call coming in. Because we they were a little short and they did not have a snook stamp, you know, and in the state of Florida, you have to have a snook stamp. It's got to be over 28 inches. Thank you for calling Rodney Rogers Outdoors. This is Rodney.
Hey, what's up, Rodney? It's Tony.
Tony, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. What's going on?
Man, I have been glued.
What day?
It's Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday. Tuesday, we do our show every week. We do an hour podcast. I don't know if you've seen it up there, but this is Tony Young, the one we were talking about earlier.
Tony, glad to meet you, man.
That's my
good to meet you.
That's my partner, Coach He's in Crime, Mike Coley there, and he sees all your videos as well.
Absolutely.
Are you talking about videos? You talking about the stuff I've been just kind of putting up recently on our
your Hunt Florida
channel, or are you talking about my music videos?
Well, your music.
I have seen
last,
both.
Yeah,
yes.
Week before last, we talked about your music videos.
That we did.
Okay.
So this week we're talking about your Hunt Florida videos, because you know what's funny is right in that same time that we did the 10 most asked questions, a week later Tony did his, because we were getting a lot of questions from emails, and then that's why I reposted yours, because you're a little more matter of fact than I am, being with the FWC.
Kind of has to be.
So, but wait a minute. But let's be clear though. So yours was first, though, right? So mine came after.
Well, mine was first, but not so.
Okay.
You might want to check his facts there, Tony.
Who's
I'm
going to say it was first. How's that?
Just kidding.
I think actually it was, we were literally a week apart, and then when I saw yours, I went, yeah, this is what I was trying to say right here.
Yeah, well, we my boss, with social media getting as big as it's gotten with everybody, and our agency is pretty, I don't know how a lot of state agencies are, but our agency is pretty progressive, and they kind of see it as, we need to be involved in this, or, we're going to be behind the curve. So,
absolutely.
People are talking about you, and either you can participate in those conversations or you cannot. But, our agency chooses to do so. We're not, we try to be transparent. So anyway, my boss had just kind of said, hey, see if you can, I'd like to see if you can do some videos on certain things. And I basically had asked, we have a really good, some really good AV guys, audiovisual guys. We have a guy named Gus Holzer that, he worked on the Silence of the Lambs stuff.
Really?
This guy was like, this guy was a big, he shot a lot of really big time movies, and now he's more slower paced and working for the state now, working with us. But they didn't have time to do it. Law enforcement, I think, takes up a lot of their time in projects that they need. So they were like, hey, I don't think, we're not going to have, maybe we'll be able to get to it in December and this and that. So I kind of went back to my boss and was like, hey, I don't think they're going to, I'm not sure if they're going to have time to do all this. But I said, but I'll tell you what I can do. I have my own GoPro, and I can just kind of do this stuff on my own, kind of self video myself and whatever. And so she said, well, my boss will go and do that and see what you can come up with. So that's why it is what it is. And with YouTube, the way it is, it's
absolutely.
So, it's gotten. You don't have to have some full production video now. People are just taking cameras and doing selfies basically, and so that's it's real. It's raw and it's real.
You know what? That's exactly why we do what we do. Because honestly, Tony, and I'm sure you'll agree, is it seems more believable, more plausible.
I think so.
When you shoot it so raw and
it's authentic.
It's authentic, and people are more apt to go, hey, you know what? This is absolutely matter of fact.
Yeah.
And we don't, and I've had a couple guests, and I'll continue to do that, on some of these little episodes, but, I tell them, I say, hey, we're going to there's no script. We're going, these are the things that I'm going, and I'll lead you into the questions. I know the answers to most of the questions I ask these people, but I'm going to lead you into the questions, and we're just going to talk about this. And I tell them, I said, if we kind of mess up, we're just going to correct ourselves and keep rolling. We're not.
Absolutely.
I mean, these are all one take things. We didn't.
Nice.
I told him, I said, now if we accidentally say a curse word, then,
Right.
then we're gonna have to redo it. But because this is state, this is the FWC here. But I said unless we drop a curse word, we're gonna let it roll.
Absolutely, man. You know what? Mike and I were just talking a minute ago, and we were talking about the social media thing, and I know I think you're probably around my age. I'm 46, and I said years. I wish
I was 46.
Okay. Well, you look way younger than I do.
I got you by a couple.
Okay. And I was telling Mike that our research when I was I started hunting when I was 13, and I used to get my uncle's magazines, and our research was always a month behind and sometimes 2 months behind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your preseason hunts were based on last year's hunting, episodes.
Right.
And now, now we're fishing, and I'm posting where I'm catching fish. We did a snook and trout trip in a new spot that I found this past weekend, and we slammed them, and I gave them exact location, exact times. So it's more what I think is, that
was nice of you.
Yeah. You know what? And that's what when we started our this Rodney Rogers Outdoors, we want people to get involved. And it's not like I go out there and I go, hey, I throw a worm up against a tree. No, I'm telling you what tree, what worm, where it's at, and where it's at on the water.
That's what you're giving them is really useful information that they can go out there and do. And what you were talking about when you were a kid, I got started. I guess I got started small game hunting. I was 14 or so, but I was bass fishing and stuff even before that.
Absolutely.
And I used to watch I used to get up Saturday mornings and watch Bill Dance and Roland Martin.
Yeah.
And then I would see what they would do, and then it would get me fired up and motivated, and I would go grab my stuff and I would go out to the lake and try what they were doing. So
exactly. And that's exactly what I was telling Mike, and you see, like we were just talking about, for example, Addicted Fishing with Blair Wiggins there. I said, you never see them give away location because one is they're probably fishing with a guide in most cases. And the guide is not going to give away his honey holes, and right. I said, that's kind of why we do it, because if someone goes out for the first time and they've always wanted to trout fish, and as well as I do, reds, trouts, and snooks are very, that's an intimidating fishery right there. People get very intimidated when first of all, you talk saltwater, and then you talk about those three species. Now they're intimidated. Well, if you get them successful on their first trip out, man, that's worth its weight in gold. You've got a fisherman for life right there.
Right. Well, no, exactly. And I've never caught a snook because we don't have those up in North Florida, and I've never been down there fishing for them. But definitely caught my share of trout and definitely caught some reds as well.
Well, you know what? I didn't know you guys didn't have snook up there. I mean, I fished in Panama City.
We don't have. We don't have. There's no snook in Panama City.
No, well, we did red fishing while we were up there. Man,
yeah, we don't. There are no.
I'll be damned.
There are no snook and there are no bonefish.
I know there's no bonefish. That's a South Florida. Or actually, they've gotten as up as Tampa's Bay. I've seen them in Tampa Bay.
Well, yeah, but I still. I mean, that's Central Florida. But I'm talking about North Florida. When I say we have no bonefish and snook in North Florida, and we don't have any peacock bass either.
I didn't realize the bonefish and snook did not go that far up. And peacock, I still have not got one of those. I think we're gonna, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend, we're gonna go down and give that a shot and see how that works out.
There you go. I mean, they look like, they're beautiful fish.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tony, I appreciate you calling, man. And if you ever find yourself, Mike's got a question.
No, before you let him go, though, I want to, because I've been, just so you know, you got a couple more likes here. I've been liking all your stuff here, looking at the Florida TV. Very cool.
I like it.
And tell me about Buck Fever.
Oh, dude, that's the video I showed you. Remember the Buck Fever video, the singing video?
Yeah, let's talk about your backup band there.
And I know that you're friends with Deidre Bridger.
Yes. Deidre and Bo.
She was in the video. Well, basically, I try to say this short. I mean, I had written a song called "Waiting on Tom,"
right?
And I did it with I had an old friend of mine that when we had met, he had said he picked and sang a little bit. So when I wrote the song, I asked Scott Ellis, that's what I'm talking about, if he'd like to sing on this with me a little bit and do some of his world-class calling. And he loved the song and did it with me, and we shot a video. And that year he won the Grand National head-to-head calling championship.
Really?
So it was cool. It was cool that the guy singing on my song was the best turkey caller, the competitive turkey caller in the world that year.
That's pretty awesome.
But he had told me the song ended up being the theme song to the National Wild Turkey Federation's TV show Turkey Call.
Wow.
So because of that, I've sold a bunch of iTunes and Amazon downloads, and of course I could always sell more.
Absolutely.
But that song has done well for me. But he's the one. Scott Ellis is the one that told me. He said, you know, Tony, he goes, man, I think this song's going to be good for you. And he said, if I was you, I'd have another similar song, you know, in your back pocket, and that you can, you know, someone asks for it, you can, boom, here, I got this. So I kind of took that to heart, and I was up in the deer stand actually in Jefferson County, and it was one of those slow days. But
cool.
I write a lot of songs when I'm in the stand.
That's the best
I just got this good melody, got this kind of chorus, and ended up climbing down and finishing it up in the truck. But Buck Fever was born, I guess, and to shoot the video for that, I kind of wanted to take the same approach I did with Waiting on Tom, except instead of having one pretty girl in the video, I wanted to have 14.
I ain't gonna lie, I love the video.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah, and yeah, because country music video is a country music video. People don't want to see me, and they want to see some pretty girls in there. And these girls, the thing is, though, you know, you guys probably realize it, but some people might not. Every one of those girls, except for the girl who was pretending to be the nurse that gave me the shot at the end,
right?
Every one of those girls are serious deer hunters.
Yes.
They're not just a pretty girl.
No, I can see from your other photos on your page,
gun, you know, and act like you know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are all, several of the girls have their own hunting and fishing show. I mean, Larissa, you know, from Larissa Unleashed.
Yeah.
And then Brittany Glaze is the host for Destination Whitetail.
Oh, really? So I didn't know that one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Brittany Glaze is she's a supermodel of outdoor models. I mean,
wow.
She's out of Atlanta. We had another girl, Kaylee, from she's got her own show. Oh, what's it called? She's in Illinois. And we had girls all over the United States. And of course Deidre Bridger was one of them down there in the Naples area. Larissa's, you know, in Sarasota.
Yep.
And then several of the girls from the Tallahassee area, because it just kind of made sense. But you know, three of the girls, I think, including my wife, are presidents of their local NWTF chapter. So, you know, these are women that are not only are they beautiful, but they're big time into hunting, and they are, you know, a part of the industry.
Absolutely. You know what, Tony? While I got you on the phone, and I think this is a legitimate question, and I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to like it, a lot more women in the fishing and hunting field than there used to be. Because I mean, I know growing up, it was unheard of. You know,
right.
And we've
I think you know, some of these girls, you know, I mean, some of them, and I tell you, some of them they've got their own Facebook page, and they've got a ton of followers, and some of them, there's kind of a niche for it, just like, you know, yes, I've written a couple hunting songs, but that's not what I am. I'm not Tony Young, the guy who writes hunting songs. I mean, I've got a whole bunch of songs that are not about hunting, but it just so happens that the most success that I've had has been with that Waiting on Tom song. So it's kind of like, I might have stumbled upon something here. And, it's been kind of neat to, you know, because I do work for the Fish and Wildlife Commission, and I love that job, and I love being a country music artist. So it was neat combining those two passions and having some success with it. And I think that's what I don't know. I think maybe that's kind of what some of these girls are kind of seeing. I mean, they're not wanting to stay at home while their boyfriend or husband, you know, go off with the boys to hunt. They're wanting to go with them, and it's, you know, they're finding out that it's fun, it's exhilarating. They're with their best friend. It's sexy. I mean, and they're making it sexy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And the type of girls that are in there are really good. I think they're good role models to get other women, you know, into the sport, because they, you know, other girls can look up to them and go, wow, look how pretty she is, and she's doing that. So, that's cool. Maybe I should do that. You know, I mean, those kind of people are leaders, and I think that's what they're doing.
Absolutely, and I see it as a double. What's the word I'm looking for? When we have a revenue, because I know a lot of our dollars goes back into our management areas. We have the largest management areas in the United States. I mean, in combined acreage, we have, you know, the our duck seasons, all of our fisheries, and all these dollars, and we just doubled them if we can get the other side to hunt and fish as well. Is the way I kind of see it. It's only going to help us in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, there's been nationwide, there's been a slight decline in hunting license and hunting participation, because I think it's because of just there's been kind of a disconnect. A lot of us just kind of grew up doing that, but nowadays, I don't know. It's just people have got a lot more cityfied, and if that's a word.
And
they're just, you know what I mean.
I know when I was a kid and we would go dove hunting, we'd see an empty field, we'd pull over and start dove hunting. You would be approached and it was no big deal. And now you get approached by helicopters and FBI's and CIA. So now I kind of think, we've kind of taken the innocence away a little bit in my eyes.
Here's what happened was, I'm the same age as you, and I remember when a lot of those timber companies landed, it was open land. I mean, it wasn't quote unquote, it wasn't public land, but it basically was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, as far as the way it was treated, but what started happening was the almighty dollar got in the way.
You hit it right on the head.
What started happening is like St. Joe was a big timber company up here, and now they've since sold almost all their land to the Mormons. But they, people would come up to them and say, hey, would you lease? I want to lease. I don't care about, I'm not going to cut the trees. I ain't going to mess with that. But would you lease this area for hunting? I mean, we'll give you X amount of dollars. And the timber companies were like, really? And they were like, okay. So then all of a sudden the postage signs went up and, and all of that. And so all these areas that, like you said, you just pull over in a field and start dove hunting. I mean, you couldn't do that anymore.
Exactly.
It started getting to where hunting started turning into a rich man's sport, unfortunately.
Yeah, it has. And it was so much easier. And it was actually, I know my kids growing up, we didn't hunt as much because we just didn't have those areas. You know what I mean? Everything that I hunted as a kid, I know the last time I quail hunted, and one of the best quail spots that I ever hunted in my life, we got trespassed, and I did it for 20 years. I had a helicopter land right at the back of our truck, and we were trespassed. They weren't mean about it, and they said, I know you, he goes, I hunted out here many times myself. He goes, and unfortunately, this was all bought by attorneys and blah, blah, blah. And it's all gone now. So,
right. I mean, things changed.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what's happened. Some of this open land, if you will, is not open anymore. It's all tied up in big money leases, and
exactly.
And it's what the market will bear. And my wife and I we don't really hunt on. We're not a member of a big hunt club, and we don't lease a lot of land. I mean, some of it has to do with money, but some of it just has to do with I'd rather have a 40-acre little tract of land where opening day is the day that I go out there,
right,
versus being in some club where you might be in there with some guys who don't even have a job, and they're going to hunt every single day.
Absolutely,
and you're only going to hunt on the weekends, and they're going to shoot everything, and you're going to barely shoot anything. And
right.
I don't prefer that.
I agree.
But a lot of people do. And that's fine. But I just would rather have a smaller tract that I can manage all to myself, especially if that tract is in a good spot where there's a bunch of land around it where maybe people aren't hunting, and that's what we've kind of found, some little honey holes like that, and we just we've been just enjoying that, and it's been great fun.
Is that what kind of sparked your last video, the management, small tract management there? I thought that was an awesome video. But
yeah, I mean, I've written some stuff. I write for Woods and Water.
Right.
I write for Florida Sportsman Magazine, and I guess the last thing I write for Deer and Deer Hunt Magazine. But I guess the last thing I wrote for Florida Sportsman was a piece on, and it was finding hunting success on small acre tract. It was basically the same kind of title, and it was about a guy who and it had that story had a couple different angles, but one of the angles was it was a guy who had lived in Minnesota, big buck country, for 40 years, I believe.
Oh, really?
And moved down to Florida like 5 years ago, and was a lifelong deer hunter up there, and had killed, I think I think 30 bucks, over 100 inches.
Wow.
And came down to Florida and shot his biggest buck ever.
Wow.
In Florida.
Yeah.
So it was a good angle because it was showing you that Florida bucks can be, if given the proper nutrition and given enough birthdays.
I was going to say, given the chance. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And that was what, and he shot that in his backyard when,
wow.
On a 5 acre in the middle of his backyard when he was having some health issues and he wasn't able to go around any. And so he ended up just kind of seeing some deer crossing in his backyard and was like, maybe I'll put a stand up here and put a feeder out here and whatnot. And he ended up doing it and shot an 8-point that grossed, that it grossed like 156.
Wow.
And I mean, it was an 8-point.
Yeah.
And it's tough when an 8-point scores that high because
absolutely.
you don't have those extra times to count in.
Exactly.
But it was extremely massive. I mean, it was 6 inches in circumference around the base.
Wow. Now, I saw that do you score bucks as well?
Yeah, I do. I score for the Florida Buck Registry. I probably score, I'm not sure about the rest of the guys in the state, but I definitely score more deer in the Tallahassee area than anybody.
I'll tell you this. I would definitely be interested in seeing how you do that.
Oh, yeah.
If you ever get a wild hair where you make that video, I would definitely be glued to that one for sure.
You know what? You just gave me a good idea.
I would have the hypothesis of how it's done, and you got the guys who are, that's not how you do it, and I just think that'd be it would definitely answer a lot of questions from a guy who does it.
Well, and all you do just real quickly, I mean, what you do is you add up, you measure each of the main beams,
mm-hmm.
you measure each of the tines,
mm-hmm.
and each rack gets at least 4 circumference measurements, which is the circumference around, the thickness around the main beam, and you do it at the base where, in between the head and the G1, the brow tine,
right,
and then between the G1 and the G2, and the G2 and the G2 and the G3, excuse me, and then if there's not another one, like if it's only an 8-point,
right,
and there's not a 10-point, then you just measure between the last part of the main beam halfway between that.
Okay,
G3.
as if it did have a G4 there.
Exactly. And then the only thing else you add after that is the inside spread, which is the distance in between the main beams at its biggest curve, at its widest point.
At its widest point.
That's it.
Really? Okay.
That's it. So basically, again, you measure the 2 main beams, you measure all the tines, you measure 4 circumferences on each side, and you add the inside spread, and that is your gross score.
Wow.
And then what you do is you just take deductions off. In other words, like if one main beam was 20 inches and the other main beam was 19, you subtract 1 inch.
Okay, so you're basically making them both even.
Exactly.
Okay.
So when you're scoring for Boone and Crockett and the Florida Buck Registry, you've heard that expression. You're only as strong as your weakest link. Well, in this case, your score is only as strong as your shortest tine or your shortest or smallest circumference. You know what I mean?
I got you exactly.
And that's it. It's as easy as that.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, there's 100,000 theories out there, and that was pretty simple.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've scored a ton of deer, and it's fun. I mean, I got a great job. I mean, I do.
You do, man. I'll tell you what. I definitely stay glued to you. You probably see me repost your stuff all the time, and
I appreciate it.
It's super interesting, and it's awesome, man. I can't thank you enough.
Well, and speaking of that, let's tell people before we let Tony go, how do we find you on YouTube? Obviously, you're Hunt Florida TV.
Yeah, it's Hunt Florida TV. That's exactly right, on YouTube. Okay. And my country music videos are at Tony Young Country.
Tony Young Country.
Yeah, I'll post that as well. Well, actually, maybe we'll attach that to our website.
Yeah, absolutely will.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And we're on. I mean, I'm on. My music is on Facebook with the same thing, Tony Young Country, and then Hunt Florida is also on Facebook. So we got Facebook pages, we've got Twitter pages, we've got YouTube pages.
That's great.
Right on. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll attach everything to us for sure. And if you're listening, you can definitely go to us and dig Tony up. And Tony, man, I know at such short notice, I appreciate you calling, man. It was definitely exciting having you on, and hopefully we can have you on in the future again.
Man, anytime, man. I appreciate it. We were just, my wife and I were just sitting there watching, we DVR a lot of these hunting shows. So we were watching Backwoods Life, I think, is what we were watching. So
Very cool.
I was, that's how we live.
Well, right on, brother, man. Well, hopefully one day, Tony, I get to meet you one day. Either I'll sneak up there, or if you ever find yourself down here, you definitely look me up.
Well, I did see your tour dates on your website there. You're playing out and about, looks around in the Tallahassee.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe we take a trip.
Yeah, mainly. Yeah, you know, I used to do music full time, and it's a tough, you know, when you've got
Sure.
kids and all that,
Yeah.
it's a tough way to make a full living at it. So I've kind of got the best of both worlds now, but
That's
we,
great.
you know, we stay a little bit closer to home now. We don't travel quite as far as we
Yeah,
used
we
to
may
travel.
surprise you one day.
Nothing
Who
wrong with
knows?
that though. keep a toe in that water and just enjoy it.
Hey,
right?
but you know what? If the money's right, we'll go wherever. You know, we'll go wherever.
Amen. Well, Tony, thank you so much for calling, buddy.
Thank you, guys.
All righty, my man. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Good night.
Bye-bye. Voila. Great show. Man,
we get some great callers,
yeah.
and that was phenomenal
Yeah.
because he's the real deal. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that we could have. I kidded my wife before we started, and let's go do our 2-hour special, and we could do a 2-hour
We
special.
easily could have talked to Tony for another 45 minutes to an hour. Easy. I had so many questions for him. That's why I want to get him back on the show.
Well, there's
Well,
there's a lot of depth there. You
I
can go
know.
any direction.
Exactly. And you remember when we
Well,
were
you guys
talking-
are. Yeah, we'll go. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, but when just a quick iteration, when we were talking about, you pulled the brochure open
Yeah.
and you said,
Yep.
you don't have to have a hunt license to hunt hogs. A week later, that's when he posted that 10 most asked questions, and he goes, you don't have to hunt.
Saw that.
And I went, pow.
Yeah.
I'll be damned. We just talked about this.
That's cool.
So yeah.
And then you're talking about how to measure points, and I'm over here googling what the heck are they talking about. but I found a great image with the points and
Okay, perfect.
started talking
G1s, 2s,
yeah, you started
3s.
talking G2s and G4s. I thought you were talking airplanes. I got all excited, but then I realized it was something totally different. Very cool.
Wow. Yeah,
That would be
great.
a good video, though. I mean,
Great
I know
show.
it sounds easy. You guys, didn't know it was that easy. I'm like, wow, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It sounds because I know I've tried to do it and I know what he's talking about, but for the average person who's never done
I
it,
didn't even know that those little points had a G1 and a G2. and I
you didn't even
seen
know
them.
they were named, did
That's
you?
very cool, though.
Well, cool, man.
Always educational with you, though. I've told you that every time. What a fun evening
Yeah.
this has been.
Absolutely. I was so hoping he'd call, man. That was awesome. That's the guy I met, several months ago, just out of a fluke. And tell me I did not meet the right guy.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just totally
Now
met.
you met him down here, though.
No, I actually called him in Tallahassee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yes.
Remember, I had this
Yes.
coyote video, so
Yes.
they directed me to Tallahassee, and they said, "Well, we got the guy for you," and they told me it was Tony Young. So him and I got to talking, and I was talking about, I got this outdoor show. He goes, "Well, I got an outdoor show," so we started swapping. Next thing
Yeah.
you know, we're swapping Facebooks and outdoor stuff, and blam, I've been glued to him ever since.
Well, that's won't be the last time we talk to him.
No, hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Very cool. Good stuff, man. Very good stuff.
Phenomenal show.
Yeah, I tell you what. I know we kind of jumped right into it tonight. We didn't really
Yeah, we were
didn't
just full biscuits.
talk
wasn't it?
news or anything like that. Like I say, you're making news, and that's much better than the news you can read online. I did read something about a story I just wanted to share in closing here.
Absolutely.
Before we get on. But there was a man who was on his weekly fishing trip.
Okay.
He had begun his day catching an 8-pound bass right out of the gate on his first cast. On his second cast, caught a 7-pounder. The lights are changing because I think the show's over.
Are we on air still?
And believe it or not, on the third cast, a little over 11 pounds. And then his phone rings. And it was a doctor notifying that his wife had been in a horrible accident, and she was in critical condition in ICU. And the doctor told him, you need to get here as soon as possible. And he hung up, and he was just mortified. And then his second thought is, but it kind of sucks because this was turning out to be the best day
Of
fish.
my life.
I mean, you talk about a predicament, right?
Yeah. Moral dilemma.
Few more casts. I just want a few more casts. So
Right.
the guy actually continues to fish for a little bit before heading on to the hospital. And he ends up fishing the rest of the morning. I know. He ends up with a stringer, though, like I've never seen before. And then
Right.
has to hurry to the hospital. But he was so guilty. So he dashed to the hospital, and the doctor caught him in the hospital, knew who it was, and literally read him the riot act. And he's like, dude, you went and fished, didn't you? Well, I mean, he really laid it on. He's like, I hope you're proud of yourself.
Right.
Because that'll probably be the last fishing trip you take. Your wife has been anguished while you've been out enjoying yourself on the lake. Be more likely for the rest of your life, she will require round the clock care. And that's going to be you. So I hope you enjoyed your last fishing trip. The dude was floored, dropped down and just started crying. And the doctor says, I'm just kidding. She's dead. What'd you catch?
That's so wrong on many levels.
I know. Get me out of here before I get in trouble on that one.
And his mom always said 1,000 times, and I'll say it at least 1,000,000. You kids get outside and stay.